Star Trek 57, M23, take 2.
Star Trek Podcast.
What's happening? I merely discovered the error in your deception, that my memories were not without value to you. I knew because they belonged to me, you would see them as trophies and be unable to resist them. You took the things that were me, and in doing so, you have become me. We are one now. We are me. Goodbye, brother. Goodbye, brother.
We have a podcast, not a radio show, but a podcast for an episode called Surrender of episode 8 of season 3 of Picard on the Star Trek series. And it's Star Trek Picard. And we are called the It's Got Star Trek podcast, episode 179.
You should do that every
All
episode.
right, so wait, we're covering the episode Surrender. Now, which order did we do this in?
Surrender.
It's the It's Got Star Trek podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We are covering Surrender, which is Star Trek Picard season 3, episode 8.
Mm-hmm.
But it is episode 179 of the podcast.
Totally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's I got that in my notes.
All right, so we're all square with that information.
No.
All right. Okay. All right.
No.
Yes. Okay, we'll get to Vatic and her various phrases this episode soon.
Mm-hmm.
First, I must direct all of our listeners to the most recent to the most recent episode of the Open Pike Night podcast, in which I was invited to be a guest on that episode, which was focused on recasting roles on Star Trek Strange New Worlds from Star Trek the original series that have not yet shown up on Star Trek Strange New Worlds, but may at some point show up. For example, Scotty or McCoy.
Like Farrell or something.
Who? Farrell?
Farrell.
Lieutenant Farrell. Yeah, there was a lieutenant. Well, no, that one didn't come up.
He was kind of a shit that guy.
Anyway, yeah. It was indeed an honor to be invited to join into the frivolity over there. So I encourage everyone to go listen to that podcast.
Nowadays, they could do like the alien characters from the animated series.
I agree.
On the bridge.
I think that was
like
a good.
They could have Eric's and the cat one.
Yes,
Caress.
Emrys.
Emrys.
Is it Emrys?
Something like that. Maress.
Maress. Meow. All right. Yes, I agree. These are all things I agree with. That they should do a sequel episode that incorporates TAS characters.
Well said.
All right.
Let's talk about reality now.
So this week's episode of It's Got Star Trek, diving right in to this very interesting episode.
No.
No, it was very, there was some awesome stuff that happened. Yeah. A couple things that I wasn't a huge fan of, which I don't know if you want to start with the good stuff, which is most everything, or the one or two small things that aggravated me.
Well, I think we should start the show with a bit of levity.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a joke about something that floats in the air?
No, that's a good idea, though.
Okay.
That's a really good idea.
Sorry.
So, hey, what do marsupials put on their salads?
Wait, is this a joke you tried before and messed up?
No, I didn't mess it up. I didn't do it on the air.
Oh, okay. This is when you'd been
kangaroo cheese dressing.
You've been working on this. You're workshopping this.
I'm workshopping this one,
but we don't know neither of us, neither Jesse nor I know the punchline.
But Jesse said What'd you say, Jesse?
Kangaroo cheese dressing.
That's close.
It's because it's similar to blue cheese.
Yes.
Yeah. You give up?
What's the question again?
What do marsupials put on their salads?
Koala oil.
Wow, that's really good. That's better than mine. That's fucking good. Fuck.
I don't know.
No.
No.
They put on the marsupials for when they eat salads. They cover it in Roofert dressing.
Okay, all right, I know. Okay, now I remember you told me this, and you told me the punchline. And the problem I had with it was I had argued that I'd never heard of Roquefort.
Yeah.
You
Dressing.
You knew about the cheese.
Of course, I know about the cheese.
Yeah.
I am well schooled in the school of cheeses.
Well, that would be it's like an intense kind of blue cheese, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It's like similar to blue cheese, but it's like more like right in your face.
Now, Dan pushed back on it, and Dan informed me that there is, in fact, apparently old people like this, and we're not being ageist here, just that people of a certain generation
I've heard of this,
have the term Roquefort. Yes, exactly. Jesse's 1 year old. it's like he's of that generation. But I had never heard of that before. But yes, I'm not a big fan of the punchline because it makes me uncomfortable.
Roofert cheese.
I don't like that. I like what did he say? Koala's oil?
He said koala oil, which is fucking so much better.
I was really trying.
You just came up with that though.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well,
it doesn't matter how hard.
I was thinking of a marsupial. I was like kangaroo.
Doesn't matter how hard you tried. If you
Koala.
came up with that on the spot, man, shit. I had to workshop mine. So yeah, it's funnier if it would make more sense if it was Roofert cheese dressing, but they don't call
It's
it.
just that makes me think of roofies.
Okay, maybe that's
And
the
I
problem.
don't like that.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it
that's
makes me
bad.
uncomfortable.
But the thing is you'd think they'd call it Roquefort cheese dressing because they call it blue cheese dressing, but they just call it Roquefort dressing.
All right. So-
And apparently Roquefort is popular in Australia.
Okay.
Really?
All right.
From what the internet told me.
See, the cool part
That's what the
about-
internet told
Yes,
me. I could be wrong.
The cool part about this is that statement you just made right
Set us
there,
straight.
that exclamation you just made
Australians.
right there, that assertion you made that Roquefort is popular in Australia. Now, did you mean Roquefort or Roquefort dressing?
Just the cheese.
So, okay. So, first of all, I'll point out that your whole joke is about Roquefort dressing. So, stating that an entire culture of people enjoy
I didn't say
You know
that.
why?
Cheese. I
'Cause
didn't
they
say
have,
that.
does not support your argument.
They have koalas,
I
so they just
didn't-
use koala oil.
But
I did not say.
I also want to point out.
I did not say that, that all Australians love their Roquefort cheese.
No. I know you didn't say that. But I am going. What I'm further attempting to point out is that you have been workshopping this joke off the air, as they say colloquially, and one issue here is that this is not a Star Trek related joke. Now, if
Whom was he workshopping?
if the punchline was like the koala malat,
Koala. Oh
then
man, so
it's
many
a
good
good
koala
one.
jokes.
Oh man,
then it brings it back to Star Trek.
it has a
because
lot
this
of
is
bells.
we do have to remind ourselves periodically. This is indeed a Star Trek podcast. It's in the name, for God's sakes.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, it was great. I enjoyed the levity. I agree. We needed to start with some levity. There was no reason not to.
I'm looking up.
There's some heavy shit in this episode.
Yeah,
there is.
Yeah, there is.
I'm trying to find the website that said that Roquefort's popular in Australia, but I can't find it now. But someone did say it's.
Okay, it's all good.
And now I'm obsessed with this.
No, but you needn't be. We could have people we have listeners in Australia.
They can set us straight.
And they can, the unplanned Trek fellows in Tasmania, they can set us straight
Whoa,
when it comes to
Tasmania.
Roquefort.
According to
Roquefort dressing.
foodauthority.nsw.gov.au,
That's New South Wales?
Roquefort cheese, which is made from.
Is that the University of New South Wales?
It's not edu, it's just .gov.
Oh, so that's the government of
Gov,
New
baby.
South Wales.
Roquefort cheese, which is made from raw sheep's milk and is unpasteurized, was recently approved for sale in Australia by. That doesn't say it's popular in
'Cause they-
Australia.
they-
This is
well,
approved for.
Approved for sale.
I
swear.
believe they have a lot of sheep in Australia.
Okay.
Is that right?
They have a lot of sheep
Is that
in New
right?
Zealand.
In New Zealand.
I
With
don't
Hicks
know.
and Saflita. They're fleeting at all the vills.
But they do
New
have
Zealand.
some sheep.
Okay, so again,
I don't know.
we are off topic as it relates to Star
Because
Trek.
it would have been a funnier
It's
joke
got
because
sheep.
it's kangaroos are in Australia and Roquefort cheese would be on Australia. And
I dig it, man.
Shift it up for a
Yeah.
Tasmanian devil and see what happens. If
Tasmanian
with that
devil
version of the joke.
cheese.
Yeah. Okay, so Star Trek Picard, Surrender.
Okay. Serenity now.
Okay, I'm just gonna get it out of the way because it's all
Yeah,
this is
dude.
a mere personal opinion.
Rip it right off.
There's nothing wrong with this. I have no doubt that many people appreciated this scene. And not to jump ahead in the plot, but I think, why don't we just mention this? Because the show opens up with Vadic is in control of the Titan, and she's getting all threatening and all that stuff.
She's lighting what is she smoking? Some kind of funny little cigar thing?
looks
Like
like
She's
a
been doing that the
cigarette?
whole time. It made me think about what about how would a shapeshifter absorb cigarette smoke?
I took it to be a subtle
interesting,
indicator
isn't it?
of their modifications that
Yeah.
make them
They
more
got
human.
lungs.
Are that good?
And it's one of the weaknesses. They take on human weaknesses like addiction.
Oh, interesting.
An addiction to nicotine.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Because you
Potentially.
couldn't, like, if you were a traditional shapeshifter, could you rub nicotine and mix it in with your goo body and may get addicted to it?
I'm sure you could. Why not?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have lungs.
But I guess what you were saying,
or
Patrick.
fentanyl.
But Patrick, if you
Starfleet issue fentanyl.
Patrick, what you were saying about like
Rub it into your goo bones.
being able to replicate shapeshift in organs, yeah, you'd probably start to get some tendencies depending on how well that they're at it. But
So she's doing all this super dramatic, scary stuff. And it is scary. She's a real threat. And
yeah, that's
Amanda
some
Plummer
real kind of terror.
is doing a great job. What I will say right up at the top, just to get it out of the way, because otherwise I loved so much of this episode, was the whole scene with her threatening everybody and doing all that stuff. I was like, okay. Dan, you've talked often about the whole cliche thing, and normally this season they've been really good at avoiding a lot
Because
of
I'm
that.
Starfleet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I like that, but yes, it's sort of a cliche on cliche on cliche. That was not so much of the problem I had with
the
it.
delivery was just kind of funny to me. It was like, because I'm
I liked all of that. I liked all of that being followed up by the whole opening of the front doors business gag. And
the whole gag.
I like the whole fucking solids
fuck
gag.
solids. I like the fuck solid gag.
I liked all that business. I don't think they needed to kill
Tavine. Yeah.
I think that was
Oh,
I was a little frustrated by that, and I get what they were doing. They wanted to make sure the stakes were raised and all. I appreciate and accept everything from a sort of a storyteller perspective. It's a choice, and it's a choice some people are going to dig. For me, I kind of thought, it is fun to see the heroes actually kind of like pull out the stops and kind of win one. We've already seen a bunch of dead people in the hallway. It's not like nobody's fucking died here. Wouldn't it be cool if at the last minute they just open the doors and she's all like, fuck solids, and it's like, okay, that's hilarious. And we get to keep the very intriguing, interesting characters.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I know. It's a bummer when you lose a character. I remember though, I had an issue with, I think it was the season finale of one of the Discoveries. I think it was the latest one. There was like, they made it out like there was this galaxy ending situation. This is spoilers for last season of Discovery. And so all this like hell was raining down, and like people had to like evacuate, and all this shit happened, but nobody actually died. Like they tried to play it up to the last second, like the Earth was going to get destroyed, or maybe was it Earth, or it was somewhere.
Earth and like the Vulcan planet.
Yeah, and so there's all these stakes happening, and we're supposed to be like, oh no, and then magically it all like goes away. And my issue with that was like, absolutely not. They took no risks with that. The universe is falling apart, and nobody like got injured from it. So I felt in that instance there weren't enough stakes, but in this one they went for it, and it does seem a little out of place.
For me, it was merely it felt a little cruel to the audience, because and especially honestly, and I hate to say it, if they had picked some of the other lesser named bridge crew. I mean, I liked all the bridge crew.
Because I'm Starfleet.
Could have been that guy.
Well, I thought it was gonna be that guy because he's the one that Jack.
He's the one that was doing it.
He was the one that Jack took over, and when
got jacked.
And that's what's been great.
And when
is the misdirection has been good, and it's hard to predict what was going to happen.
Right, and so I thought because she caught him, I thought she was going to kill him, and then when he was like, and she was like, "Tell me where Jack is," and then he was all like,
Because I'm Starfleet.
I thought she was like, "Okay, fuck you," and then like shoot him in the head. But no, went after Esmar, and then she switched over to Devine. So
Esmar.
So maybe, so I guess it was a misdirect. Yeah, it was
okay. And I guess here's is where I have a little bit of a structural discomfort with it. Is that
I'm having structural discomfort.
The scene thematically, the purpose of that scene
in the inside of my butt
is to be surprising, is to show how serious Vadic is, how fucked up she is,
means business,
and how fucked up the writers are. That they're like, we want to really get across here. Exactly. Yeah,
dirty Star Trek.
She is a fucked up person. Here's the problem. She dies not long after this.
Yeah.
If she doesn't come back, it's like, okay, you've demonstrated another layer of fucked upness of this already fucked up person.
Right.
And now she's dead. So it undercuts it a little bit.
That's a good point.
The value of it.
Right. There was no value. Yeah.
Of the sacrifice.
That's a good point.
I wasn't sure that she was actually going to die. I didn't know that,
Well, who knows?
Space was going to get her.
Who knows? She's a goo person, so maybe
she's a goo person.
I don't like saying that.
She got real shattered, though, but those gooey people can get...
Well, they got phased or like torpedoed
They got
afterwards.
cohesion.
Because they sort of inexplicably blew up the Shrike.
So,
it's like, why'd you blow it up? Wouldn't you normally just capture it?
I don't know. I think they were really pissed. They were pissed at that shit.
So
it was very satisfying to see that thing kind of...
It was cathartic.
Normally,
I agree with
normally, when you see somebody sacrifice someone else, like a villain,
I guess they blew up Jean-Luc Picard's remains,
though.
It was unclear whether they brought them over.
Yeah, it was unclear.
Usually when someone like a character gets sacrificed because of the supervillain, I guess it's to show how mean and terrible they are. But there was nothing that they really it didn't force them to really change what they did. Like that didn't really they were trying to take over the bridge, Jack and company, and like that was their plan all along, and so it didn't force them to change it like anything that they were doing. And like you said, she just kind of died in that episode, and that death kind of snuck up on me. I felt a little bit like the gravity wasn't enough for me, because like when it happened, I was like, wait a minute, she just died. Like I didn't feel like, oh no, I was like, oh shit, because it just happened so suddenly. So I didn't quite feel like,
because she was such a formidable enemy this whole time. Like,
well, and there's a contrasting example from Discovery, which is with Lieutenant Ariam, where there was also a situation where there was a sacrifice involved, but it was much more closely tied to the actual plot of what was going on in that particular season. So, I mean, again, it's something that there's nothing fundamentally wrong with this choice that they made, but I think it's for some people like me, I think it's a little bit more on the more death, and this person seemed like a very interesting person I would have liked to see more stories with down the line, at least to imagine more stories with.
That character was a Vulcan?
Yes, I believe so. And then
you always need more Vulcan.
But also, and the thing is, that's precisely why they picked her character as well. And so I understand that they picked her character because that character was designed to connect with the audience, and so you feel it when that person dies. I just don't know that it was entirely necessary for this part of the plot.
Well, speaking of death, of Vadic's death, I can play a 20-second clip of her dying.
Oh,
really?
I like this practice you've developed of including time codes, and I believe
just to get you ready.
No, I'm just saying, I believe this might follow on that one time you had like a hilarious, it was like a 3-minute long clip, and I was like, you can play it. I don't think we can keep it in. We had to edit out a big chunk of it.
Yeah, I think I warned you that it was 3 minutes, but I don't think it was really. I didn't.
You did warn us,
but the weight wasn't carried of what 3 minutes actually means.
3 minutes is. 1 minute's a lot.
Yeah. So anyway, and I liked this death because it's just, you hear the different sounds of like.
I like this death.
Because you don't hear her dying.
I'm a big fan because it's silent. It's a silent death.
No, you hear the
silent but deadly.
You hear the space sounds, but you can still tell something's happening.
Space sounds?
Yes. So we're going to be
all right.
Be pleasantly quiet while Vadic
dies.
While
we enjoy this 20-second clip.
Getting out of your system.
Shatter.
Yeah, and that was the last time we heard that. Because the strike's gone. That was
Jesse,
that was the strike march.
Bang on that piano a little bit. Bang on that piano.
My phone went to sleep.
Oh, you got to bang on that piano.
That's the strike march. Is the
Yeah, that's the leitmotif.
Bang on, just bang on that piano. Yeah, that's how I like it. That's how Daddy likes it. Yes. Tinkle. Well done.
What's going on there?
These are my own sound effects.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, do you have a problem with that, Dan?
I've used them before.
Maybe I do, maybe I don't. So Jack is able to jump.
Execute!
Wow.
Execute!
That's a quote from Vatic.
Oh, is that a quote from Vatic?
Yeah, you didn't pull the quote of her saying execute?
Execute!
Wait, are you talking about this one?
You have 10 minutes to come to the bridge.
I'll execute every motherfucking last one of you!
Yes, I was thinking.
Any of you fucking pricks move! And I'll execute every motherfucking last one of you! Execute!
The jack in the box, ready to
Jack in the
pop.
That disturbed me.
I know, it's so fucked up. It's like, this lady is whack, dude. Pop. Jack.
Pop.
Wait.
Amanda Plum is like, I'm going to make my mouth so round.
I
Pop.
know.
Pop.
She's from Canada.
Pop. Laboratory.
Wait.
Like a jack in the box, ready to pop.
Okay, we didn't just hear that.
Yeah, but there was a lot of chaos going on.
Well, I did not mind hearing it a second time.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You have 10 minutes to come to the bridge.
I'll execute every motherfucking last one of you!
Let's just play it all again. Why not?
Execute!
Chief O'Brien.
Chief O'Brien.
Chief O'Brien?
Oh, man, that's great. That's good.
Balana's on it.
Balana is indeed. Balana is indeed.
We've really got our thing going here,
On
don't we? We've really found our rhythm.
Yeah, but he hasn't played the hologram one.
Yeah.
Or is he saving that for the end?
Which one?
Holograms?
That's right.
That one?
Holograms?
Holograms. Holograms.
I like this one. He's all sad.
Holograms.
Yeah, no, I took that one too.
So Jack was able to jump around into different people. Okay. So
Yeah, that was
I
great.
bet you Jack's current mind, because we're
His brain is gone.
Actually, no, he just has extra brain.
So, okay, that's what I'm saying. I have a theory. I have a working theory of what's going on here. Because Vatic was talking about how Jack, she was talking about how he's like hopping around from species to species.
Yeah.
You were all alone. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
So what I think is happening is I bet Jack's current mind is really just Captain Archer's mind, leaping from body to body on a quantum level.
Okay, yes.
Quantum Leap?
This is one of those classic Dan Quantum Leap jokes.
Yes. So
did you ever watch Quantum Leap?
Oh, I watched a lot of Quantum Leap.
Did you watch any of the
It's a
new
solid
Quantum
show.
Leap?
I never saw any of the new one. I was looking forward to it, but then I never saw it. That probably wasn't as good.
And you missed your chance, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. There's no coming back to that one.
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, you didn't see it when it was on the air.
So right, that's as we know in this day and age that's even harder than ever.
Zero possibility of ever catching up with it.
But anyways,
unless it's summer.
So what's happening is Archer's leaping from mind to mind, but there was a screw up on the quantum level. So instead of taking over Jack's brain, he has co-opted Jack's brain. So they're on. Is that the right word? So it's not that Archer is taking over his brain. They're working together. It's like there was a quantum screw up. Sam screwed up, or Al, or whatever. Al screwed up.
Mushy?
What was his name in what was Al's name in Enterprise?
So what I got to tell everyone at home
Good Lord.
is that what you're really missing out on, and which we could possibly do a Patreon on, would just be we would have a live, not a video podcast per se. We would just have a live feed of Dan's gesticulating hands as he's making a point.
Dan.
Because particularly tonight,
Gesticulating
he
hands.
there's so much being communicated.
Yeah.
He think he's doing a great job of conveying his thoughts using words, but the body language.
He's a well-spoken fellow.
Yes, because he is indeed Starfleet. The body language is vigorous tonight.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So what was Al's name
he had a
on
Diet
Enterprise?
Dr.
Sam was Captain Archer, and Al was on Enterprise.
He was that guard
Yeah.
dude, that warden dude, that prison monster.
Oh, he was
Yeah.
on this show, really?
Yeah, he was on Enterprise.
Dean
Anyways,
Stockwell?
yeah, Dean Stockwell. So Archer jumped into.
I don't remember that
So
character.
instead of just one mind and Jack's mind, and instead of like Jack's mind or someone taking over Jack's mind, he's got a data lore situation going on where there's two minds in his mind.
Somebody gets jacked.
Jack got jacked.
I gotta say, Dan, that
I am who I am.
Hey, I am.
I'm not sure how serious of a proposition this is.
Do you think I was making something up?
Well, yes, and that's not the issue.
I think you're definitely up to something.
The issue is not being creative and making something up. The issue is passing this off as a legitimate theory when I do not think you have much faith in this theory.
Oh, I think it's I would I would do all sorts of stuff. I would do all sorts of stuff.
I
Just
bet
wait.
you-
Just
I
wait.
bet you would.
I would do all sorts of
He's
stuff.
going to do it.
I think you've demonstrated that. Anything else about Vadic's death or this sort of chunk of the storyline? Well portrayed, well acted. They kept us on our toes.
Colonel Grat. That's what Dean Stockwell's was.
Oh,
in.
Colonel Grat.
Right on,
That's what it
dude.
says. Colonel Grat.
I believe you. It's just not particularly interesting.
Well, in case anyone was like had a loose end.
I do appreciate that service that you've provided to our listeners.
Okay.
I mean that sincerely.
I mean, it's fine.
No. I had not taken
he was
into
a-
account that
he
there
was
would
a-
be some subset of our listeners who would want to desperately know that name, couldn't remember it, and simultaneously couldn't be bothered to look it up.
He was a Tendarin military officer. Tendarin.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, yeah, Patrick, we were talking about Vadic.
Yes, indeed. And what I was saying is that while I do think they want to touch cruel with this all the other stuff around it, I thought was an interesting way. Presumably, again, I'm saying presumably to tie up the loose ends of this villain. Now, there is one other kind of structural issue that this brings up, and I was touching on this last week a little bit, on the preponderance.
Don't touch on things.
On the preponderance of mysteries, parallel and concurrent mysteries, any one of which is very interesting and all that, but that there's a lot of them, and so much of your opinion of what's going on is going to depend on the resolution of these various mysteries, and they've been doling them out now in this latter part of the season.
They might as well call him Dolomite.
Okay, and
Dole 'em out.
That is one option.
Holograms.
Dolomite.
Holograms.
Dolomite. Dolomite.
Holograms.
Dolomite.
But
Nothing at all.
okay, so we have all these great scenes with Vadic. That's all that great, but
That's all that great.
That's all that great. That's a common aphorism, isn't it?
Sure.
If not, I'm going to insist that it is. I'm going to put it out there.
Sure
in
it
the world.
is. Mom and them.
Okay, so we meet Vadic. She's evil and scary. She's chasing down Jack. She has some reason we don't know. At the beginning we don't know. At the beginning
Nobody
of the
knows.
season we don't know why she's chasing down Jack. And as the season progresses, we find out a little bit more background on her
But we have more questions.
and her followers or whatever you
Yeah,
call these
right.
people. But we don't ever actually learn what she wants from Jack, other than she wants to get Jack for this head guy.
The handhead guy.
But now Vadic, the villain, had an awesome death. It was a good classic Star Trek death. It was surprising. It was shocking. It was fun. It required everyone working as a team, which is great.
Kind of snuck up on me. I wish there was a little bit more.
Well, and so here's the thing. Now she's dead, and it's like, okay, that's great. She's dead. But again, we don't know who the head guy is. We don't know. She keeps saying, like, now Jack is now the time that you learn who you really are. It's, hey, Jack. And
right, yeah, she did do that.
But then we don't learn it from her.
Yeah, right.
And presumably we'll learn it by the end of the season. But again, it starts to maybe not concern. Concern isn't a fair word because I'm still enjoying the hell out of all of this. But little things in the back of your mind are like, I don't know. I hope what he turns out to be is actually interesting.
Yeah.
Because it can retroactively make everything awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
but it can have the opposite effect as well.
But I was hoping that the Jack situation would somehow relate to why the face monster can like warp to people's hands. But you know how like because Jack can jump to people and the face monster can jump like somehow. I want to know why that face monster has that power to like how they have the power to communicate with face monster from far away. But I don't think it's going to be related.
I think
think
like smoke vapor technology.
Yeah, I think they're not going to explain the whole reason why face monster was able to talk through Vatic.
Yeah, probably
Space
not.
face,
I think it's going to be
face.
left in the air.
Monster face.
Pizza the Hut.
Yeah.
Oh, boss, you're so delicious.
I'm a prince.
I'm honest to good prince.
So I don't think they're gonna resolve the face monster situation.
I think you're right.
At least why
they'll resolve it, but
yeah, but not like why he can do what he does. But I was right about something. This whole Jack like situation with his brain, where it's led to brain. With his brain.
Yeah, okay, yes. You said it funny.
Yeah.
And then you said it funny 2 more times.
I know, because
you
I
said
knew
it funny by accident, and then you said it funny on purpose.
No, it was to combat you, because I knew you would start laughing at the way I pronounced it, and then so I had to like disarm you. That's
right.
all.
Well, in that event, your plan worked perfectly.
Excellent. Yeah, so the Jack the Jack superpowers where he can jump from thing to thing, and then they're talking about Picard's iriomatic syndrome. Maybe we want to hold this discussion off later, but I think I was right where I was thinking that there was something. Don't you hate that when people are like, I was right. See, I was right. I'm smart. I know
You're
things.
not usually like that.
I'm smart and I know things, and I was right. Which is exactly what I'm doing. But the iriomatic syndrome is somehow related to Jack's power. Presumably, this is an assumption.
Something like that.
But they're specifically going for that iriomatic syndrome.
Because they took a bit of his lobe.
They were, what is he, Ferengi? What is he, Sneed? Sneed. Quark. So they're looking.
Quark, and then there's
Quark. So they're
depends if it's the Grand Negus or if it's Odo.
So they're going.
Sorry, I'm just amusing myself.
No.
All right, continue. We got to take a break soon.
Yeah.
So the wrap
So
up.
they're going for the iriomatic syndrome cells.
Yeah, aromatic syndrome.
Aromatic syndrome cells, and it's presumably has to do with. I think it has to do with Jack's powers, and like
Jack's powers.
And so something about the aromatic syndrome is not bad like they thought it was. It's actually a superpower that can like fuck you up if you can't control it right or something.
They've indicated on one of the logs. It indicated that the quote unquote the aromatic syndrome diagnosis was now in question.
That's true.
That it maybe was misdiagnosed.
Maybe that's all.
And maybe it was something. A lot of people have suggested it could be something related to the Picard's time as Locutus in the Borg.
Well,
so maybe
that's
it wasn't
believable,
genetic, but maybe it was something that altered his genes and thus was passed down along to Jack.
Well,
or it's
that's
something
sort of
completely
more what I was thinking.
completely different with Jack. Maybe it's a Wolf in the Fold situation. With Jack the Ripper jumping through time. Could be all sorts of things.
Well, I think so. It seems like what's going to happen is that the shapeshifters are going to utilize Picard's iriomatic cells and to try to like win the thing, but it's going to fuck them up.
Gonna wing the thing?
Yeah, it's going to wing the thing. It's going to wing the thing. It's gonna fuck up. It's gonna fuck up what they're trying to use Picard's like iriomatic cells to like win the situation, and it's gonna fuck up, and they'll end up being hoisted by their own Picard.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We will be right back. We'll be right back.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty good.
Oh, no, we're taking a break. All right, we are back.
We're back. We had to take a long break after that one.
Lots of spankings were handed out in the standard circular ritual fashion.
Okay, that's enough.
Because we all agreed that each and every one of us has been naughty in some fashion.
Have been naughty.
Very naughty in the first break. Okay, second break.
Second break. Same on the take.
No. Second break. First I wanted to say another mild aggravation is that the changelings suck at fighting. I really dug the scene with like Raffi rocking out on those changelings was badass. except for the whole like,
Ravi's pretty bad,
why aren't the changelings doing more changeling stuff?
Yeah.
Now, I fully buy that there's some explanation that why the changelings are not like flapping around and doing octopus shit
They're
and
the
flying around
stupid
like
changelings.
birds and stuff like that. Like, I get that. And they've already tried to explain it a bit, but I think that's kind of why they made the decision to make them all like huge and hulking. But again, because now Vadic is dead, we've only ever seen Vadic talking to herself and aliens talking back in language, and it's all very.
I can't
It's
tell
all
the
Star
I can't
Wars-y.
like tell the difference between them talking and like the ship beeps and boops.
Yeah. Well, it's all
Yeah.
very nice. It's all great, and I find it all very entertaining. It's just if you kind of look too hard at it, you're like, I don't know what's going on 100%. And
What are they up to?
and so
I don't know.
We still don't know why they're wearing those masks.
maybe I needed
'Cause
a
they're
little
fucking
hand holding
ugly
in
underneath, that's
in the exposition to be like to explain more clearly that they're still badass, but they can't do all like
They
the
got that
crazy.
gamma quadrant
changeling stuff.
gross face going on.
Yeah,
Gross
but
face
it's not
killer.
a big deal. It's just because I like seeing Raffi kick ass. I like seeing Worf kick ass.
Hell yeah, man.
Checking like that whole business with Riker and Deanna on the ship was cute and touching, and like a good-
And Worf busts in again just at the right moment when you're like,
Yeah.
shit's getting
Worf-
fucked up, and you see like his blade all coming
that,
through.
and I
like-
dug that.
That was
Yeah,
exactly
it was great.
that
It
was
was
like
great.
that was just like when he bladed that dude on Sneed.
Here's my only
Yeah.
problem: is I know they're messed up, goofy changelings, but they're still changelings, and so
Yeah.
like the idea of
Right.
stabbing a change, like
Yeah.
I get phasering like on high, a
Yeah.
changeling and vaporizing it. I don't necessarily buy into like a changeling getting fucked up with a sword.
Yeah.
He needs to shoot somebody sometimes. He can't just be slashing people with that weird blade he's got.
But it does look cool.
It's
does.
it's totally bad.
And it's extra funny
Badass.
because Worf used to date Deanna.
Yeah,
and so
right.
Riker always has this playful
And
thing
he all
with
comes
Worf.
up to her and he's like, "Listen, I got to tell you all this stuff."
He's
about
like, I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you.
been-
like the
everything
ocean."
you've said has been right this whole time.
You remember that song? It's like, I've been thinking about you.
Yeah.
I do.
Got you on my mind.
I do remember that song. Could you
Sing
sing a few more- can you sing a few more lines from it?
Who performed that song?
Could you
Who
sing a few more lines from it?
I've been thinking about you. Got you on my mind. I've been thinking about. Oh. I can't hit that note.
Or no, apparently not.
Oh, fuck.
All right.
That's
Well,
like. It's like a South Park episode.
We'll practice that.
I can't
and we'll come
hit that
back to
note.
it another time.
I'm always ashamed when I can't hit the note.
You needn't be ashamed.
Um,
We've talked about this.
no, I mean, I can be. Don't tell me how I'm supposed to feel.
I'm not telling you. I'm advising.
I don't need
There's
your
a difference.
I don't need your
It's not a command.
I don't need your advision.
I'm just saying if the act of feeling shame is there's nothing shameful about the act of feeling shame.
This guy is trying to be my therapist over here.
But shame is an interactive process because it requires some degree of assumption
advice,
on
isn't it? It's
how
not advision.
how the other people are going to perceive you, thus causing the
don't
shame.
tell me how to grieve.
I'm not certainly not fucking telling you how to grieve. I'm just
Speaking-
saying that
How to-
you
how to
cannot use me
grieve.
and probably not Jesse as an excuse to feel ashamed about your not
No,
hitting
I
that
mean no.
note.
It's people who like
People respect you.
people who sing and stuff. When they hear someone miss a high note, they're always just like, ugh. And I don't actually go
You
home.
are a respected
No,
member
you
of the
don't.
community.
Okay, first stop this shit right. Stop this shit right now, or you're coddling me. I don't actually go to sleep at night and fucking worry about this shit. God damn it.
Of course not.
Okay, but speaking of grief, when Deanna was all like,
Okay, I get it.
when she was
You're
like,
just
when
I'm going to mention grief no matter what.
when
This guy's the Segway King.
when Riker was the Segway
You
King.
totally tricked me. He got right underneath there.
And when Riker was like, and you used your Beta Z powers to push yourself inside my head to dull the pain, and when that wasn't enough for you, we both gave up. And then Deanna goes, well, unlike you, I felt the weight of everyone's relief, or sorry, I felt the weight of everyone's grief, and not just my own. Now here's the thing. Here's the issue I have that. It seems like a counselor wouldn't be trying to turn grief into a competition. Because she was basically Riker was like, I'm grieving. And she's like, oh yeah, well, I'm grieving more, essentially is what she said.
I have to imagine that it can be very difficult to separate the profession of counselor or psychotherapist
true.
with your spouse.
She even said like, I forgot the most important rule of counseling, which was something. But
partly because yes, they're your spouse, and you want to both utilize your education and experience in the counseling arena, but are also a human being. But the other reason, of course, being that one of the purposes of having a business relationship, whether it's whether you're paying for it or not, regardless of having a professional relationship with a counselor, is that they don't know you and you don't know them, and they don't give a fuck about you,
right?
And so they're giving you, they don't give a fuck about you beyond you being a human being, and they want to help you.
You're a case.
But yes, that they have that objectivity that they can approach your issues from an outside perspective.
Because normally she's got
in theory that's
normally like with Jack, she has great investigative instincts when she was all like,
have you ever seen a door?
Like, that's a great question to ask somebody. Has they ever seen a door?
So, I'm glad you got that clip because, and again, I don't want this to sound like...
I know I took that out of context.
No, I don't want this to sound like the Quibblecast. This is not It's Got Quibbles.
Have you ever seen a door?
Why? How did she know about the door?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know.
It actually makes me nervously suspicious of her, even though I'm positive this is not some she's not a changeling or anything like that.
It sounded like one of those cold readers. Is that what they're called? The people who pretend to be mind readers or whatever.
Yeah,
but
she has actual like psychic.
Yeah, she's actually psychic.
She's a flim flam artist.
But yeah, like Beta Zeds she's a flim. Picard said flim flam once. I think that's where I might have learned that word.
Flim flam.
It's flim. I want to go on an adventure.
And have flim flam.
I want to go on an adventure and have flim flam.
Yes, but
Dater.
Yes, that's exactly how he says it. That's how Sir Patrick Stewart says dater.
Dear old Patty.
Dater, I hardly knew her.
I feel like that. I feel like there's an R ended when a word ends with a vowel. An R is added to it when the next word begins with a vowel. See, you made fun of what I said. I should have disarmed it quicker.
Well, it comes from
all right.
when they try to make their R sounds into A sounds. And
then,
So then the A sounds get reversed into R sounds.
That's right. Yeah. And so it was saying it's like when it ends with a vowel and the next begins with a vowel. Yeah, the R's kind of roll into it. Helps roll the word into each other.
Okay.
This has been Linguistics with Dan and Jesse. While Patrick laughs.
The British accents.
More like linguini.
Oh shit.
Yeah, a couple of linguinis over here.
More like don't twists.
Okay, all right.
Octopus.
But no, that's a good point. Like Beta Zeds they're just empathic, so they only feel emotions. Okay. They don't actually see specifics like doors and things like that.
Well, it depends.
I don't know. I think she gets pretty deep.
Well, she's half beta. Well, she's half beta Z, so she's not even as strong as a normal beta Z. So she wouldn't have.
I wouldn't put it in terms of strength, personally.
Oh God damn it! Okay, she doesn't have the full empathic abilities that a full beta Z has, but it doesn't mean she has added other abilities. So there's no reason.
And she can communicate psychically with like her mom and stuff. Yeah. Also,
she says with her mom, she says stuff like,
have you ever seen a door?
Now, in this case, this minor quibble can be eliminated. You can get rid of it. You can kick it to the fucking kick the can down the road. You can kick the can to the street. You can pick whatever fucking phrase you like. If you assume that somebody, either 7 of 9, mentioned the reference to the door, which she caught that reference, right? So she made a point. She's like, "What door? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
She could have mentioned that to Deanna. Deanna could have watched a replay of the bridge security logs and been like, "Hey, this Vatic chick was talking about red door. Have you seen a red door?"
Yeah.
I know she didn't say red. So
maybe it got through in the gossip in the grapevine.
She's picking up on a lot of the whatever this thing is putting off. There's a dark presence.
She's picking up what it's putting down.
That's the thing. Is like
putting off.
Is she seeing it, or is she getting the vibe from it? It wasn't super clear.
Mm-hmm. Maybe she's just picking it up from around the bend.
On the other hand, I'm super delighted.
Are you making fun of me, sir?
No, I wasn't actually.
He might have been.
Was I? I don't even know how I would have been.
I don't think so either.
I'm just checking. I'm not seeking malice.
I'm a big fan of...
I'm a big fan.
I'm a big fan of using of utilizing Deanna Troy's capabilities and experience in a meaningful and practical way, which is what they're doing here.
Yeah. So it's the Deanna stuff. I was just having some fun.
No,
before.
I think I'm glad because I think it's an important conversation to have because we previously have only seen her briefly. She's briefly in the thing. Now we actually are getting to enjoy her presence on screen, and more importantly, that unlike a lot of TNG, especially early TNG, where her abilities were, not portrayed, not necessarily.
I sense that
the
this
best.
enemy doesn't feel happy about you right now.
There's like a guy, like they have armed weapons, and they're like, I sense
hostility.
Hostility.
There's deception. I sense deception.
They were able to.
There's always sense and deception.
They were able to do a lot with the character on the show. In the end, a lot of that was, they were able to do it. I'm glad they're doing it here, because there's always that risk. And people have been already talking a little bit about how, for example, Beverly Crusher, who is a key player in this season, and has had some important scenes. On the other hand, has also like kind of a lot of times has been sort of sitting in the corner being like, or whatever, when it's a bunch of dudes talking, which isn't the most exciting thing.
Well, I have one question this week.
Just one?
Is this a quiz?
This was last week. There was maybe one or two too many questions, but
Really?
Is this one of them context? Guess the context by dancing on the grave.
Yeah.
How does it go?
Name the context by guessing. Wait. Guess the context by naming. Wait. Name.
This is your game, right?
Is it name or guess the context? Guess the context by listening to a short portion of the line. Either that or name the context by listening to a short portion of the line.
Guess would make more sense than name because you don't really name a context. You describe a context.
You're right. Guess the context based upon a short.
I will name it Sam.
You could perhaps name a category of contexts.
Okay.
Like dungeon adventure.
So
that would be a broad category of context, but then you would have to provide more detailed description of the context in order to flesh it out.
So I will give a hint from the start, which is it's on topic. It's on topic of what we're kind of going at right now. So because there's no way you're going to get this. This is impossible.
To clarify,
this is impossible.
To clarify by saying on topic, do you mean it's about Star Trek or it's about like
our current thread,
which was Deanna Troi? Or Beverly Crusher?
Let's think about the last 5 or 10 minutes
of us talking.
Yes.
I don't.
Well, that's your fault.
I don't think I want to think of that.
Look, you're not going to get this either way. It's impossible.
All right.
But like,
okay.
So
Mr. Game Designer is like, my game is so tough.
I know.
I designed my game to be so tough.
Because that's what
I play tested it on 10 motherfuckers and none of them got it.
Good designers make it impossible.
Like Star Trek, not Star Trek. It's like Super Mario 2, the Japanese version. It's the Japanese Super Mario 2.
Right. That was apparently it was a good game. It was just too hard.
I've played it. It is a good game. It's really fucking hard.
It is. We called it the Lost Levels. Actually, Super Mario 2, the American version was Doki Doki Panic.
They took some other video game
It was a completely
and put
different
Mario characters in it,
video game.
and they were like, "Oh, Mario goes on a fucking mushroom trip."
Yeah.
And he goes insane. He goes to insane
Kind
dreamland.
of awesome.
It is awesome.
Oh, it's totally
crazy.
badass.
I don't like the music, and a lot of the characters make me uncomfortable. But it's a good game.
I like the music.
I don't like
it's funny when you.
I don't like the guy who spits out eggs.
Oh yeah, cheap or something. When you pause it, I like how it just plays the bass line. If you pause it during the game, it just plays the bass line. It's like
It's really great.
What's the clue to this business? This hyper specific business that has to do with
hyperspace.
The last few minutes of the show.
Okay, so let's listen to this.
Let's
try.
Wait again.
Dr. Phlox.
Data.
It does sound like Data. Think about what we talked about in the last 10 minutes. Who do you think that is?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm trying to come up with even a joke answer. I'm fascinated.
Jesse?
Riker?
Yes.
Is it the inappropriate?
No. This is impossible. This is a ridiculous game. No. Although it is
I don't know what those
it is something that
words
Riker finally admitted that he wasn't very good at after all the internet criticizing him on it.
Pizza?
Yeah.
Pizza?
Yeah. Check it out.
Good in bed, bad at pizza.
So just like me.
Wait, what? Is that fully in context?
Yeah.
Did you make that sound?
No, I didn't. It would be great if I inserted it in there and tried to pass it off.
I think that's what you did.
No, I swear I didn't. So I'll play the sound. Now here's what in full context.
Good in bed, bad at pizza.
So just like me.
What? I don't remember that. That's not the episode I watched.
I guess because I ruined it for you because I played that one sound by itself over and over again. You know when you say a word like toboggan, it loses all meaning. So I played that sound over and over again. So you're no longer able to blend it with the rest of the sentence. It's so isolated in your head. There's probably a great study on the human brain sitting in there how to ruin sound for people.
Oh, I'm sure there's 100. I've had that happen to me. Like, for example, many years ago in college. This is eons ago.
Did you go to college to get more knowledge, or did you go to Jupiter to get more stupider?
I happen to have done both.
Wow, this
simultaneous parallel.
Wow.
I went to Jupiter.
But when I was back in college, I made the error or the system tone on my PC, on my micro, on my Gateway 2000 computer.
I did something similar.
And I made that the error sound, the line from Spaceballs where the Dark Helmet says that he's surrounded by assholes.
Oh right, yeah.
It's like I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes. And so there's actually a couple lines from that movie that like I used as system sounds, and a couple lines from Pulp Fiction. But that one I remember in particular. And to this day, if I'm watching Spaceballs, that clip sounds different to my ears.
Yeah, right.
It has a different timbre.
Good in bed, bad at pizza.
Jeffrey Tambor.
I had Homer Simpson going dope. Instead of that like that chimey like ding ding
exasperated grunt.
I had I had a clip from the Adam Sandler's first like comedy album, which Conan O'Brien was on.
Nighttime is the right time.
No, it was a sketch where he was playing baseball and someone hits him in the neck with the baseball. And it's like thump, and he's like, "Oh my neck!"
Wow.
So stupid.
That's pretty.
I mean, truly more power to him. I think it's great.
I think I remember that.
The career that Adam Sandler has had, and
I think I remember you having
the amount of laughs that he's provided for myself and other people is great, even though so much of it is so dumb.
Yeah, and it's true. But I will say that first comedy album holds a special place. I think it was one of those things that came at a certain sorry, this is dumb. Came at a certain part.
I didn't even catch it. You were making it's a double entendre.
Not even. I mean,
ejaculation. And by
it's broad.
Whomever.
It's broad
humor.
humor.
It's synonyms. I was
not,
using
not purely. I don't want to limit it to ejaculation.
I was using synonyms. Not synonyms. No, it's not. What's two different?
Nutmeg.
What is it? Two different words that mean the same thing. What is that called? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Wait, what?
Two different words.
Wait, that's a synonym. That's a synonym.
No.
That's a synonym. No, I'm sorry. I meant one word that means two different. That's just a word.
Wait a minute.
That's called a polyglot.
Polygeist.
Bang.
Doesn't matter. Okay. I'm saying that album came at a certain...
that you're not looking up that word, but you had to look up like who Dean Stockwell played on Enterprise. He was like on 2 episodes.
Yeah, I couldn't let that one go. I immediately forget it too. So that album just came at a certain point in my life. It was like something about it. Like it always has a place in my heart. That first Adam Sandler comedy album, which is probably kind of like probably doesn't age too well at this point. But
you think Adam Sandler would be good with a role on Star Trek Picard, like this season? Which character would you have had him play?
Wasn't he supposed to be in Inglourious Bastards?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not the question I asked though.
Star Trek. Who would he play in Star Trek? Like
who would he play in this season of Star Trek Picard?
Like a character that we don't have yet?
Either an additional character or one of the existing characters.
I don't know. Someone who's like...
He could have been the captain.
Someone who...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
No. It's like, no, you can't fly my ship. Yes, that's who... Captain Shaw. I think Adam Sandler is Captain Liam Shaw.
Speaking of Shaw, this is
I'm a huge fan of Todd Stashwick. But,
totally.
This is
give Adam Sandler the chance.
This is a classic Shaw delivery in this episode.
You are a Starfleet officer.
He's always so breathy when he like says things. That's
you like it, don't
Could you imagine Adam Sandler saying that? It's like I can't even do it. You're a Starfleet officer. Do
it. Oh, that made me dizzy. Oh, okay. I'm doing that whole like woo. My brain's a little crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yintaru.
Yes. Okay.
What do you think about
Yintaru?
Yintaru.
Oh yes, the new word.
I should have taught you a different word.
Yeah.
Deanna was all like, Jesus Christ, this guy with the Imzadi.
It is funny because Riker does say Imzadi all the time, so it's kind of funny that
I like that they made fun of it because
He does like in later Star Trek.
it's sort of like you imagine the person like the big white guy who goes to like some foreign land and gets a wife and just picks one word from
Give
her
me a
culture and be like, I'm
chimichanga.
just going to say this word all the time.
Give
It's
me
like,
another chimichanga.
cool it, brother. Either learn a few more words or just cut it out.
I'd like a quesadilla.
So she even said it first.
Yintaru?
And he speaks it. He spakes it out.
He spakes it out.
He spakes it. He spakes it out. He spakes it out. He spakes it out. He spakes it out.
Look, there's times
You're
where
owning it. Own it,
where
dude.
legitimately you can get annoyed at me, but there's sometimes you say something that's kind of like, come on. It's
I think
funny.
like you're too amused by somebody just like stumbling over their words.
I get amused at myself stumbling
It's
over
like-
my words too.
It's like the lowest form of humor. I think.
No, puns are the lowest.
No,
form
I
of
think it's
humor.
even lower than
Laughing
that.
at somebody mispronouncing a word is like 3 steps above a pun. And I love puns.
Puns are great.
I think
man.
puns
I
are funny.
love
I love
puns.
puns. I just don't think it's
But
that.
legally, they're down low,
I just don't
down with
think
clown.
It's your puns.
I just don't think it's that much humor to be derived from somebody mispronouncing a word unless they say something really silly.
No, look, somebody mispronouncing a word, absolutely correct. Nothing funny about it at all. Somebody who's like,
Because that's what I did. I went, "Durr." You mispronounce words all the time.
I know, and I encourage you to point it out and giggle and laugh
I
and
say,
chortle.
I say helicopter.
Well, that's
rub your
just
belly,
cool.
rub your belly, and be like, Patrick, you're so stupid.
So Deanna pronounces it this way,
Yintaru?
and Riker says it right after, and he goes,
Yintaru.
Okay,
Yintaru, Yintaru,
Yeah.
Yintaru.
It's because he's a himbo.
Mm.
I think that's the popular term these days.
He is.
Now, when I give you one final dose of the old Riker charm.
And then right after that,
Gross. Was he making a sex joke there? I didn't
Yeah.
think about it
I think
until
so.
just now, until I heard the delivery where he's all like,
so he says,
Now, when I give you one final dose of the old Riker charm.
but then like not 5 minutes later about Picard, he goes,
Right now, he set a classic Captain Picard trap.
it's like the old Riker charm, a classic Picard trap.
Yeah.
You know, it's
So-
all, Riker's so like smarmy.
that joke would have worked better. Like, now, look, it's a modern show. They're not going to do this level of camp. Back in the day, that the punchline to the joke, because that's what it was. It was a joke that Riker's like, yeah, Picard's got it all figured out.
Well, yeah,
And
that
then
was another part.
And then it cuts to
Yeah.
Vadic in control of the ship. But back in the old days, it'd be like Picard all chained up on a wall, all naked, being like, oh man,
Yeah, right.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, right. I wasn't commenting on that, but yes, I was thinking that about that as well in the episode. I was just funny because Riker was saying things all silly and smarmy,
He's a
like
silly Billy
But
from
I-
Alaska.
but it was very obvious they were setting that joke up to be like, no, they don't have it under control. But yeah, you're right. They didn't stuff it down our gullets.
Yeah, it's the modern way to do it.
It's the modern way.
Not only nothing wrong to do with it with doing it that way. It's a great way to do things.
Jean-Luc Picard's... Picard has a son. Picard has a son. No!
Okay, that was an interlude.
You're just having some fun there.
just passing time, so there's no dead air. Oh, there was so there was a thread. I captured an entire thread in about.
That makes me think of the TNG episode Tapestry.
But it's not.
Because tapestries are made up of threads.
They are, yeah.
In 20.
This has been your Star Trek connection.
Woven. They're
This
woven.
week's Star Trek connection.
There were three
Tapestry.
There were 3 sets of lines that all sort of gave a beginning, middle, and end. And I have 3 files. One's 11 seconds, one 8 seconds, one 4 seconds. So here's
guy
the
in his
first
time.
one.
Okay.
This is the beginning when Vadic's all talking.
How many seconds?
Right.
Let's start.
Sorry.
11 seconds.
Sorry, I just
8
want to. No, just this clip is how many seconds?
11 seconds.
11 seconds. Got it.
Let's start by taking their eyes. Now, take their ears. Take the very road ahead of them.
So that's the beginning. The middle is 8 seconds.
You are now without sight, without sound, without freedom of movement.
Oh, that's like The Empire Strikes Back. It's like, oh no, they did the shit. Now here's the resolution is 4 seconds.
Vadic has cut off our vision, but I can still see.
Huh? She was like, I'm gonna fuck you up. She's like, I fucked you up. And he's like, she fucked us up, but I'm still good.
No.
Aren't I smart? I
Yeah.
pieced those together from different parts of the episode.
No, it was really good.
Don't you think I'm good, Jesse?
Yes.
Jesse, what do you think about my abilities?
I think they are good abilities.
Yeah, and I would.
You are an able fellow.
Can I call you tonight at like 4 a.m. to just double check that you really meant it?
I might not be awake.
Well, can you wake up for me?
I doubt it.
Oh.
I'm not easily awoken.
So
Awoken.
Dan,
Awakened.
I suspect Jesse agrees with me that our minimal reaction to the tapes that you played and the argument that you made was because we were indeed so blown away with
That's
the
what
observation.
I knew it.
It was an excellent observation. We had nothing to say. Humorous. It was such a serious point that we had nothing humorous to say about it as a gag, just in the context of an entertaining podcast. And it was such a thoroughly formed theory.
Is it time for a break?
It was such a thoroughly formed theory that we had nothing to add.
It was thoroughly formed
from that aspect.
Unlike my feces.
It was a thoroughly formed theory.
My bowel movements haven't been thoroughly formed lately.
Thoroughly formed.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Dan. That is a good indicator that it is time to take a break.
You need to drink more water.
We'll do so right now, and when we get back, we'll wrap up our discussion with some of the best bits. Of Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 8, Surrender.
That's my favorite book.
Be right back. The data stuff, right? We got to talk about the data stuff, the data lore stuff.
I'm here, Geordi.
I thought this was the strongest part of the episode and one of the strongest parts of the whole season. And even though we've only known of the existence of this data lore,
the strongest parts of Star Trek.
Yeah, creature. It was we've only been introduced to him a few episodes ago. Already we are heavily invested in this new version of Data, and I thought it was a very, just at the highest level, just a very clever way to, in a sci-fi fashion, reintroduce the character of Data, but with enough changes due to the mechanism of his reintroduction, that he can play as a new character while still being a holdover from the older character. And of course, for practical reasons, he's now being portrayed by an old man. But you can easily get by it because the way they got there, I thought
everybody else is old too.
I thought it was a very well executed and very surprising and awesome sci-fi / philosophical mechanism. This battle between lore and Data, and I was already in for it when Data was doing the whole, like, when he was given like the Yar statue hologram thing and all that.
Yeah, I figured that was gonna have some kind of effect. The fact that he was just giving that.
Well, he did. Yeah, so Data did a lore mind flip because Data cared about memories and lore only cared about trophies. And then Data turned his own memories into trophies and lore took them, thus meaning Data won. I thought that was clever.
Yeah.
That was tricky.
It was surprising and brilliant. And the thing though is, you know, he's giving over, you know, at first lore is taking these memories out of his hand, and then Data starts switching to actively giving him the memory.
Yeah.
And the whole time you're like, man, this is fucked up. Now in the back of your head, you're like, well, they're not going to fucking kill Data. So they're going to have some solution. And your brain is coming up with, like, what are the various sci-fi solutions? And it's going to be like, oh, Data's going to gather some strength or something, or Geordi's going to flip a switch or something.
Before you mention this, it's important to mention that lore had the red dots in the brain and Data had the blue dots.
Yes, and that made it very easy. As well as Geordi just narrating. And Picard apparently looking at Data's face saying, like, this looks like surrender. It's like, dude, you're just looking at a readout. But anyway. You can't infer the internal state of this person's mind by looking at some red and blue dots. Although
there's more red dots than blue dots.
To be fair, he did infer correctly, but that was for the purpose of drama.
Plus the bleeps and the sweeps and the creeps.
Yes, indeed. But what you're doing is you're like, okay, they're gonna resolve this Data thing in some way. Are they gonna kill him? Probably not. How is it going to happen? And then to have such an elegant and philosophically interesting solution as this, I am made up of my memories, so by giving them to you, I'm basically taking you over. It was sweet. It was an interesting thing. It was
totally sweet.
It was totally sweet in both the California surfer, mode of the word, and sweet as in, makes your belly feel warm and snuggly.
It was good Star Trek.
But I will say, Every time I rewatch
When you
this
talk about your
episode-
belly, you're talking about poop being made.
No, not necessarily.
That's what bellies do.
Okay, yeah.
When you're talking about food, that's what bellies do.
Bellies get yummy.
Yeah, but you know, in literature and stuff,
I know,
media,
but I'm just pointing.
figuratively,
I know, but I'm pointing out that the reality of the
Your
situation.
belly gets all yummy.
a sated belly
Eat
is
some
such
good food and it
a
feels all
sated
good.
belly
You
is
don't
such a
need-
primal thing that it is become a metaphor
I
for
know-
feeling satisfied.
Yeah,
no,
no
I'm not
shit.
explaining this to you. I'm just making my point. I know
And I'm
you
just pointing
understand
out.
that.
I'm just pointing out that it's like the reality of that
Yeah.
situation is we're talking about poop being made.
And I 100% agree with you there. I'm actually not arguing with you. 'cause
It's
I
always
do-
poop with you.
I do agree with
Yeah.
and think
I've
it's
been a little.
funny.
I've been a little poop heavy this episode. haven't I?
Do you have to poop?
No.
Oh, that's good. Wow.
Coprocentric.
Maybe that's the problem.
We need to be more comfortable about talking about poop because it's like a serious part of our life.
Well, that's why the Germans have it right. Where the Germans
I
have
think
the,
you've talked
the
about the-
toilets with the poop shelf.
You've talked about this
on the
before.
podcast?
I'm pretty sure.
They
You talked
call
about.
it, they call it a pooping shelf.
You've talked.
I don't know what the
You've
German
talked about
term
it
for
off
it
and
is.
on.
I
The
don't know
poop,
any
the pooping,
German.
the pooping
Yes,
shelf.
I know.
The pooping shelf.
Pooping shelf.
The Guten pooping shelf.
Yes.
Pooping
Just
shelf.
look up. Anyone can do it.
Pooping shelf.
It's a fairly safe.
And everyone can poop.
It's a it's a fairly safe term if you Google
Not everyone.
German poop shelf. I know it does. Look. I know it doesn't. I know it doesn't sound like a safe, like a safe search, but it is. I swear to God, if you type in German poop shelf now. The caveat there is I would not necessarily do an image search, at least not initially. I would do a
read about
regular old web search for a German poop shelf. And then you will find these toilets that have a poop shelf for the purpose of examining one's stool to ensure one's health.
Bilana's on it.
Yes, that's the theory behind it.
She'll get back to us.
So, yes, I agree poop is important. I also agree that metaphors are important.
So we were talking about bellies being sated because of some stuff that happened.
Because you interrupted what was, in all likelihood, a fairly minor point about the resolution to this data lore story. And it's truly, it seems, the resolution to the full data lore arc that started back in the data lore.
Yeah,
so
they're all together now as one. So at the mark 35 minutes and 25 seconds in the Paramount Plus, lore gives this really devilish look after Data talks about Spot. Data talks about Spot, and the room turns a different color, and Lore gives this fucking crazy, or Brent Spiner makes this awesome face as Lore, and it looks like the devil or something, whatever the devil might be, and that's after that, for context, after that, Geordi's like, we lost him, so this is like right before. But everything turns red. I've actually paused it and looked at it for like a minute because like Brent Spiner was making this fucked up face. Yeah.
It's a very well acted scene. And what I was trying to say before, the point that was curtailed.
My fault.
No, justifiably, no doubt.
No,
justifiably curtailed. Was that every time I watched this episode and got to the Spot part, that's like when like the tears started. I was like, I just see Spot. I'm like, no, Spot.
Yeah. Spot's dead
I'm
already.
Like, don't fuck with the memory of a dead cat.
Yeah, I know.
But all three of us here are like cat people, so we have a particular,
and like Data
people.
Data learned about how to love from Spot.
Yes,
that makes me want to.
I mean, it just makes you cry more and more and more. But like just seeing Spot appear, I was like, no.
Yeah. It makes me want to like melt and then catch on fire or something. Like I'm just like Spot. That's so cute. I'm so cute. Oh for cute. So Data loves his kitty cat. Data died, as we know previously, but
Data died.
And I'm sure this question has been asked before and since, or discussed. This concept of Data dying as a robot, isn't that just being deactivated? But I mean, I don't know. We don't really need to go back to that. You know, it's just kind of weird to think he didn't die. He came back. He's not dead. His whole deal was like, I want to die. That's part of life. But she didn't die. He got deactivated. Now he can die.
I think another interesting aspect of this resolution is that they did cover so many bases, some of them more campy, like his being in an older positronic body, whatever replicant thing. We know why they did that, but that's still whatever. They made a fun excuse for it. But they also kind of covered the fact that, like, yes, Data is fundamentally He's portrayed as being an artificial life form, largely computer based. He's following the theory that you could have this sort of sentience in a substrate of whatever, silicon, positronic, matrix, whatever made up word you want to call it.
Before you're positronic.
It's still fundamentally this idea that you're just like, okay, he is just a collection of information and how that information interacts. And in theory, you can replicate that. And we've already demonstrated in Picard that you can do that with a human too, because that's what they did with Picard. They copied his brain, his neural patterns into a new form of brain. Something that
before you're positronic.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, indeed. So
little shit.
So by virtue of that fact, we can have our cake and eat it too, to employ
I always do
an aggressively cliched cliche in that
Yentaru.
It's a very large baby. In that, because data is effectively, you can oversimplify and say you can copy and paste this computer program. You can run that computer program forward and have different endings, each that accomplish something different that the character wants to accomplish. And in this case, in Picard season 1, at the end of that season, that one version of data that was reconstituted from the little bits and pieces, whatever, from that plot, he is able to die and disappear, as in he's destroyed. There's nothing left of that copy. That copy.
He was deactivated.
No, he was completely eaten apart,
erased,
like in that
eradicated.
Yeah, I mean, you can however you want to put it.
I know it's a whole philosophical question of he wasn't deactivated because he's human enough to be called dead, right? That's the whole. It
was already a hologram.
In season 1, they were more specific than that. It wasn't just turning the robot off.
No, I know.
And putting the robot on a shelf.
Well, what I'm saying is
the mind was erased.
That's precisely what I just said.
He was a hologram.
What was he?
Okay, I guess
hologram.
No, I guess I was just confused because to me, like, deactivated means turned off versus annihilated means
okay. No, you were actually. I take it back. You were making
and you've hammered onto the hard drive.
You made a slightly different point. I was going at like, well, he's more human than he's like. The philosophical difference between being deactivated as a computer versus dead as a human, and Dave's trying to be
but
human.
What they did that was so great in this episode was, first of all...
But you wouldn't say a robot died, ever, even if you, like, shoved it...
No, if you thought it was alive, you might, but that's a separate discussion. That's like a more of
like plants. Plants are alive.
Yeah, you might say, like, oh, she died.
Some people think plants aren't alive.
Oh.
Yes, no, that is true. Some people, for some reason, don't think plants are alive.
Yeah.
But Data was presented when he woke up. He was like, wait, I thought I crashed into the scimitar or whatever, like he was thinking back 20 years ago. Right. So that's the copy we're playing with now. And this copy, after being merged with lore, is straight up like, oh yeah, no, it's awesome that other version of me got to totally die and shit. Good for him. I don't want to do that. I'm having a great time. I'm going to get a new cat.
I have a neck pain.
I'm going to test out being fully functional with my lore side. Data's going to go have some fun.
Well,
I'm a senior citizen positronic jiggity jang.
That exactly.
My neck goes crickety.
So this
that's interesting.
Talking about him being dead and not really coming back, but coming back, like all the stuff you just said. Picard, at one point, he goes, like, the last time we spoke, you wished to experience death. As happy as I am that you're here, I hope that we haven't betrayed that wish. And he's like, no, sir. To me, I know what they're getting at, but that line seems a little bit potentially problematic. For Picard to say, like, you wanted to die and we took that from you. And
I have no problem with that.
I don't specifically have a problem with it, but I can see how some people might look at that line and say, a way to interpret it is Data chose to die, which is a form of, you could say it's suicide, and then like Picard's like, we want to respect your wishes and let you kill yourself. But I know that's not what it's saying, and I'm not saying I'm offended, but I can see how someone might be like that.
I think it's a good point.
It's like, how much do I want to express a point without taking any of the responsibility for it? It's like, I don't think this. But someone could think that.
I do think it's a good observation. It's a good thing to think about. To my mind, they sort of address that immediately because it's set up as Data having the opportunity to be like, yeah, that's cool that bro wanted to kill himself, but I'm good to go.
Yeah, but it's still Picard's just like trying to. I mean,
but Data was saying like that's a different version of me, and again,
but it's still the question of like. Is it like we want to respect the fact that you wanted to kill yourself?
Yeah, yes, but
that doesn't change that.
Yeah, and I think that's fine because I personally would be perfectly happy to support somebody's right to want to kill themselves in the context of being like trapped in some sort of mind cube, digital mind hell.
Yes. But there are situations where that's a little bit more.
Yeah, but where I would push back is just on the idea that although it's tempting, because this is in a classic sci-fi show format, and it is supposed to help us like reflect on our own lives and philosophies. I would also say that it gets a little tricky when you start removing when you're like, yes, this is a copy of a robot, and
who's human though.
Yes, but it's like the fundamentals are so different than the human experience that it makes it difficult, I think, to compare and to get any definite lessons. I'm just saying that I think the philosophical argument for how you deal with Data may very well be entirely different than how you would deal with a regular old human or Klingon or whatever.
When we all can live on the cloud, we're essentially making copies of our consciousness, and
but we're not doing that yet. When we're doing that, I agree. Then it becomes very interesting, and for that you can go watch movies like The Prestige.
The Prestige.
And other movies that have dealt with this topic before.
Like
but
Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo.
The Prestige.
Not Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo.
Yeah,
you can make fun of that pronunciation. So speaking of death, Picard's like, you raise to Geordi, he's like, you raise the partition and Data erases Lore, then takes control of the ship. And then Geordi's like, Data's ethical...
His brain is gone.
That's what happened when all the lights turned red.
Yeah, totally. So Geordi was like, Data's ethical subroutines don't permit him to take a life of any kind. Now, I don't know about you.
Oh, no.
But I'm sure Data has killed...
I know about you.
Dan's got his hands on his hips.
I do.
He's making a point.
I don't know about you, but I'm sure Data has killed before.
Oh, my God. Oh. Yes, that's good. I like that one.
Before.
I didn't laugh out loud at it, but that's not because I didn't like it.
You liked it better than the hoisted by my own Picard joke.
No, I liked that joke, but I was sort of aggravated by it at the same time.
Yeah, you were tired. That was the joke that made you tired. But no, in all seriousness, Data must have killed some people in Star Trek before. I can't name anything, but
I'm sure. Data's kicking ass left.
So his ethical subroutines do permit him to take a life, but maybe it's execution style is what Geordi.
Well,
meant.
he's not Batman. I don't think. Maybe Geordi.
That's what I mean. It's like maybe it's like he's not allowed. He's not going to execute someone, but in the heat of battle, not in the heat of the night. Well,
and one of the most famous scenes in TNG. I mean. There's perhaps a subjective point. I must admit I haven't done any surveys or taken statistics on this, but I think certainly a memorable scene from Star Trek The Next Generation is from the episode The Most Toys, when Kivas Fajo, a notorious creepy monstrous collector guy, gets a hold of Data, and Data does not like being held captive by this dude. They have all sorts of interesting philosophical debates and arguments, but this guy is so aggravating and fucked up that at the end, right before Data is about to get rescued, Data's totally like shoots the guy. He's like he ends up not killing the guy because he gets beamed away, but like Data totally was like gonna kill that motherfucker. Pop. That's always been a very interesting scene because it's like, that guy got so under Data's skin that even like pre-emotion ship and everything, Data was like ready to fucking off that motherfucker.
Yeah,
he had developed some algorithm in his mind that justified the use of violence in this case.
Well, so on the subject of Data, slightly on a tangent, I felt that they took the show in an interesting direction. I'm not sure I agree with it, but this is something Jack was saying about Data, and I don't know. Tell me what you think about this direction they took this episode. Okay, hold on a second.
We need your robot friend to talk to the ship, access its systems, and override Valley's bridge command.
Hey there, have you heard about my robot friend? He's metal and small and doesn't
doesn't judge me at all. He's a cyber-wire bundle of joy, my robot friend.
Wow, dude.
I like that.
It's like a musical they're going for now in Star Trek. I don't know.
I like little bits.
Robot friend.
Yeah.
Little bits.
Little bit. What'd you say, Jesse?
Play that again.
We need your robot friend to talk to the ship.
Wait a second, let me start over. Hold on.
Oh, great. Yeah, started all the way over.
This is Star Trek's doing a weird thing. I don't understand
Star
it.
Trek's so weird. It's totally weird.
We need your robot friend to talk to the ship, access its systems, and override Valek's bridge command.
Hey there, have you heard about my robot friend? He's metal and small and doesn't judge me at all.
He's metal and
He's a
small.
cyber-wire bundle of joy, my robot friend.
My cyber-wired bundle of joy.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so
Cool.
I don't know. I mean, it's
good.
I like that they're being experimental.
I like that you keep playing these clips twice in a row.
Like a jack in the box, ready to pop, pop, pop.
Jesse asked me to play it a second time.
No,
so.
it's fine. It's fine.
No, I wasn't fucking freaking out. When you do that, it makes me freak out.
Okay, that's okay.
I was just pointing out that Jesse asked me to play it a second time is all I was doing.
I wanted to hear it again.
well,
thank you, Jesse.
Well negotiated. We negotiated that.
I only freak out when people tell me to calm down.
Speaking of calming down,
Lore's matrix is growing.
Speaking of calming down, we do need to think about closing up shop this evening. So, what, if any, odds and ends or other little bits and pieces of this episode did you want to chat about? Did you want to chat about the dead people in the hallway?
Some Sydney technobabble.
We need an asynchronous AI matrix capable of computational speeds beyond 90 trillion operations a second.
We have just the fella.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. It's kind of awesome.
And it was awesome how quickly Data, like, it was no time at all.
Yeah.
It was like Data got his wits together and he's like, all right, yeah, here we go.
When Seven was all like,
Get off my bridge.
Yeah.
That's from something.
Huh? Yeah, it's from Air Force One.
Yeah, get off my plane.
Get off my plane.
And this is something that, okay, there was a clip.
I'm vetoing you. That was the draft script, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, that's much more clever, but it just didn't land, so to speak. They've been doing this thing occasionally. They did it with Worf's voice. They did it with, I think it was Raffi's or someone. No, it was someone else's voice. I played it a couple weeks ago. I forgot why I played it, but the reason I played it was they're doing this Optimus Prime thing with people's voice, and I don't know if you can hear it, but I feel like they did it with Seven.
Get off my bridge.
I don't know. It's subtle. It's subtle, and I think if you hear it in context in the show, there's this like robot thing going on in her voice. I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe I'm just
I could see it.
Speaking of Worf feels like I love Worf. He feels like a bit of a MacGuffin in a way. I mean, would you guys agree with that assessment that Worf is a MacGuffin?
I withhold an assessment before you provide additional either textual or logic evidence.
So Worf was the reason that Riker was put on the ship with to meet up with Troy. It was because of Worf and Raffi. But Worf, keeping in mind that Raffi was in trouble, Worf came up and stabbed Sneed in the back. Saved her. He was the magic box that saved her. He was also the magic box that provided names for who to go to next along the way. He was always providing the names of who to go to next.
He had a bunch of names.
He saved Riker and, Deanna. He was also the reason Data came to the ship too. You could say once again that that's Worf and Raffi, but Worf also saved Raffi. I think like Worf kind of pops in.
He's running the show. Yeah.
Didn't Worf kind of pop into Insurrection? This is kind of a tangent, but he did a pop. So he does. So it's not
he was doing Deep Space Nine, so they had to keep giving him reasons, excuses for showing up in the movie.
So for this reason, I say it's like he kind of pops in to like make a plot.
He also popped into First Contact.
I guess you could argue that every character does that to some extent in all stories, but I don't know. Worf seems to kind of like be this sort of inexplicable, like, where'd he come from? He just appeared and stabbed someone,
It's a tricky line because on the one hand, you could say maybe it's a little MacGuffin-y. On the other hand, you could say, well, Worf's character affords him a skill set and a tool set, both from the in-universe character perspective and from the writer perspective, that he can do a lot of things for you. It's believable for Worf to go around murdering people, coming out of the shadows.
They got them opening doors,
saving lives at the last second, flying ships around, being connected to information people. Like all of that makes sense for Worf in a way that it wouldn't necessarily make as much sense for some of the other characters.
He also had two funny Worf lines. There was
one's personal space is a right.
That was one. And then there's this one.
I have slaughtered countless enemies over the years and considered sending their heads to all of you.
What a sweetie.
But I was advised that was passive-aggressive.
Now the question there is, yes, it was a very funny line. The question there is was he advised it was passive-aggressive by a Klingon person, counselor or something like that?
Because counselors.
No, because his whole kick this season is to like he's found like some kind of
yes, but my point is this, is that if you are sending the severed heads of enemies to people as trophies or whatever,
it would seem like a nice thing to do.
You're a Klingon.
First of all, it does seem like a nice thing to do.
Maybe he's bragging and that's why it's passive aggressive or something.
Yeah, humble brag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just Klingon humble brag.
It's just like here's a
brag.
He's like, here's a present for you. I fucked shit up. What have you done? You know?
Well, yeah, and that's what I was thinking. Like, even if you'd say it's not passive aggressive, that would just be aggressive because you're sending a severed head.
Aggressive. Yeah.
But
maybe it's a microaggression. It's a Klingon microaggression, which is just an aggression for people.
Yeah, yes, that would work because I was going to say from the Klingon context, yes, maybe it's passive aggressive. I think for in most other contexts, it's like, whoa, what the fuck?
So yeah, but I'm a Worf guy. We're like Worf. Who doesn't like Worf? Worf's a good guy. Worf's a good guy. He's a good guy.
He is. He is universally acceptable.
I've got two sound clips. I don't have to play both of them because they're both 20 seconds. How about I play the sword fight, the Raffi sword fight sound?
You're digging the sound. Why did you give us the option? What is the other option?
Well, I think
or do you think that the audience would be dismayed to hear only one of the options if you list them both, and then so some proportion of the audience will be disappointed that they don't get to hear.
Well, I've already
version.
mentioned this. How about I play them both under the caveat that I only play them one apiece and not twice in a row?
Like, well, we'll see. All right.
So this is the Raffi sword fight. Which, trimmed to make it work if it will play, which it's not playing.
What the hell are you doing?
So now here's the Worf rescue. So this works because we're Worf and Raffi, they're two peas in a pod. So here's the Worf rescue.
Don't touch her.
Worf!
So there you go. Some sounds. Nothing really to say. Just some sounds.
The show consistently has very good sounds.
It's just
lots of gloops and glops.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting
singing
sounds.
Blade noises.
I can see how some people might like remember the first episode. I think Patrick, you were talking about how you did the Space Marine reload the electro
I did
guns.
not like that. Yeah.
So you could argue that some of these space sounds are a little Space Marine-y, but but the sounds are. I think the sounds are fun. I like the sounds.
I think it's all fun.
Sounds are fun.
I do.
But actually, I do agree with you though. The reloading the space gun that was silly.
Yeah,
that was silly.
You don't need to reload space guns.
Yeah, right.
Is what you're saying.
Right. All you have to do is go.
I do
pop,
wish.
Pop, pop.
I do wish, like many people on the internet.
Are you going to go pop, pop, pop?
I wish that
pop.
I wish that people, that the goo people, that the changelings. I wish we got to see more changeling fighting.
Yes, I agree.
Again, I know they've set up some context where it's like, okay, maybe they can't do the normal changeling stuff, but that's too bad because watching changelings kick ass is fun. It was fun back on Deep Space Nine days with like super early, ridiculous TV level CGI.
Yeah, I know, it's still awesome.
And they still did like crazy whipping out and turning into fucking birds
Again and
turning
again.
into a mouse or some shit and doing some crazy like mouse karate or some shit.
Mouse karate. karate.
You do all this awesome shit.
Mouse karate.
You turn into a scary ant monster. I mean, you have these
turn into
horrific-
bird, fly away, that kind of shit.
The concept of being a changeling, they play it for the horror of not knowing whether your loved ones or your leaders.
That's a good point.
That's the level of fear they're going for, which is great. But it's also fun to see like you turn into like the scary Targ monster or whatever, you know. Anyway, they're not doing that. That's too bad.
Toby Tar.
The other thing that's been brought up on the internet...
they could have had some really good, cool fight scenes with shapeshifters.
The other thing that's been brought up on the internet is there's all these references to Deep Space Nine with the changelings and the Dominion War and just sort of just generic. A lot of this plot is driven by events that took place during the run of Deep Space Nine, yet we still... save for Worf, don't have any DS9 characters show up. You don't have Kira showing up in some intelligence capacity. You don't have Dr. Bashir showing up because he had, something to do with saving the changelings with the disease and stuff like that. Like, still a couple episodes to go, so maybe they'll have a cameo, but a lot of people have noted that it's something almost slightly like aggravating about like, you're like a Deep Space Nine fan. You're excited to see Deep Space Nine be important to some of the other franchises, but not getting any direct references.
Right.
Like they didn't even like fly to Deep Space Nine to dock for a bit.
They didn't even play the music.
Yeah, no Deep Space Nine music.
So Seven finally gets back at Shaw because he keeps calling her Hanson, and she's finally like,
my name is 7 of 9.
And that was I felt like that was supposed to be a big like boom moment, but they could have hit a little harder, I thought, but I mean, I understood they were under duress. They were like, they
hit you harder.
But she was like, my name is 7 of 9, motherfucker. She's been waiting to say that, and like
he's all like, I'm gonna fucking die,
and he's kept calling her Hanson after that anyway.
Yeah.
But later, after all the shit happened and they win and it's all happy, and then they're all happy with each other, and then she gives the ship back to Shaw, and then he goes,
Stations.
That is a reference to Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, the superior of the two Bill and Ted movies.
I respect that opinion. I wouldn't say I necessarily agree that it's superior, but I totally can see why one
Bill
would
and
believe
Ted's
that.
Excellent Adventure is an excellent film and has a great story, a great setup, all that. The acting is great, etc. But in the second one, they go to heaven and they talk to God, and then they deal with that station monster.
That station shit was so weird.
It's the most fucked up shit I've ever seen in my life.
There was a
sort of like watching Labyrinth or some shit, man.
There's the scene where they combine into one giant version. There's a YouTube clip, and it's titled "Station and Station Combine to Create Station." That's a great title.
We highly advise any fans of this podcast to go check that out and be disturbed on your own time.
They play like chess with death.
Yes.
Yeah.
William Sadler, who played Sloane in Deep Space Nine in Section 31.
He was in
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption, yeah. He was in a lot of stuff. He's really good. There was an inconsistent proof of people when Geordi and Picard and company meet up, and Picard's like, you drank some wine and you said it sucked, and Geordi's like, I went to your place and drank some wine, and Picard was like, your wine sucked, and you said it sucked because you don't drink.
Pretty much got it.
Yeah, right. And so
you're missing some of the key details.
Yeah, right. But the point being is that they had to do the thing where they see what the person knows. But when Worf and Raffi did it. When Worf and Raffi did it, Worf was like, Raffaella, and she's like, don't worry, it's still me. And Worf's like, all clear. It's just like, I don't know if that was like supposed to represent their relationship or if the writers were like, they get it. We don't need to play this game again, which either way I respect. But, I noticed that they were doing TOS. Did you mention this before? They were doing TOS sounds on the Titan. Yeah.
Yeah.
The bing.
Yeah. Last week they were doing the TOS, the radar, the Star Trek 2, like the radar.
I was reading that like, supposedly the idea is that they're doing like Starfleet's doing a whole like retro thing in their design of their ships and like the noises they're bringing back from previous centuries, and this is a Neo Constitution class.
Yeah. That's the whole in-universe reason to do what they want to do as creators, because
they're having a retro period.
They want to sell toys.
They can do what,
but
they
it's
want.
all good.
Are they selling toys?
I'm sure they will eventually.
I want to get some fucking.
You can get. Go online. Type in
ships and have a space battle.
Type in German Star Trek shelf.
No.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
No. That one, that's where you're going to get the fucked up shit.
I don't know
if you
about
look
that.
At German poop shelf, no problem. German Star Trek shelf.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. You just...
They're pooping on it.
Retro
All right.
prairie hipsters.
It's got poop on it.
Okay, we have to wrap things up. I
Retro
guess
prairie
we didn't
hipsters.
talk much
I
about
did like
Jack,
that
but
one,
you know,
yeah.
Jack just did his thing and then he saw the door again.
Data was funny because he made a joke about using contractions because he was all set up because he actually used contractions earlier.
Yeah.
Jack Crusher, you are up.
So that is no contraction. But then later on, he was using a contraction and it was going to set up like Geordi was like, you use contraction. And Data was supposed to be like, oh, you're right, I was.
But it was like weird.
But it was a setup. Data was setting Geordi up. He's like, I know I was, but I'm going to pretend I didn't.
Yeah.
So.
It takes me a while to like remember what contractions are because I'm always using contractions and I don't. Unless I'm, just in speaking, I'm using contractions. I don't write them out. But
yeah. Well,
maybe you should start writing them out.
The good thing is that
Bilana's on it.
That is a comforting thought. Yes.
Okay, I think that's it for us this week. I don't know what next week's episode is called.
It doesn't really matter.
It's going to be like a big 2-part banger. I'm sure episode 9 and 10 closing out the season.
You've got to close it out.
Last season of Picard.
It's going to be goodbye.
It's going to be all sorts of business, and I'm sure so far so good.
Several extra minutes.
I am who I am.
I am.
I quibbled about a few things structurally, but I think otherwise it's just been a thoroughly fantastic. season.
The couple middle episodes were kind of like getting I wouldn't say losing focus, but there was a little
setting
bit
things
things up, and it's starting to focus again, and that's cool.
That's all.
I'm enjoying it.
So we will, whatever it's called, we'll be discussing that next week.
Little ship,
and then the following week. And once Picard is over, just for newer folks who don't know, when there's not a new show on, we just hop around the Star Trek universe.
Talk about whatever we feel like.
Dan's developed a proprietary algorithm, and this is for real. This is an actual thing. He has an actual computer program.
This is not a prank
that ingests our previous podcast and then spits out a list of episodes from which we can pick to discuss. And so that's what we'll be doing after Picard finishes up until Strange New Worlds, which starts in January 15th, and we'll figure out exactly how we'll do our programming at that time.
It's gonna be tricky.
We'll figure it out. In the meantime, definitely go check out my guest spot on Open Pike Night. It's a great podcast. They have all sorts of awesome guests on from actual proper guests from the Star Trek production of Strange New Worlds.
What was that gesticulation that you just did, Patrick?
I did the proper guests. I waved my hands in the air.
You did jazz hands facing up.
Yes, to like God.
Upward facing jazz hands.
To the Lord.
Yeah, you were doing a Lord's
Hallelujah.
praise.
It's a spiritual.
No, but they do a great coverage of Strange New Worlds, and they get all sorts of awesome interviews, and they also just cover a bunch of fun topics. Generally, Strange New Worlds
holograms
focused, holograms as appropriate.
Holograms.
Go check them out, and you can check us out on social media. All the kids are tromping around the social media verse these days, so we're there. Wait, that didn't sound right. Lots of people.
You might want to think about that one.
Okay, well, we are on Twitter at It's Got Star Trek, on Instagram at It's Got Star Trek, and Mastodon at It's Got Star Trek on Ton Forward Social. Where else? YouTube.
Apple Podcast.
Go subscribe to us on YouTube. You got the Apple Podcast, you got your Google Podcast, you got all that business that you can do. But you know what? The easiest thing, www.itsgotstartrek.com. Yeah. That's the website. You can get links to all these other things there at the website, among other things like
all the episodes.
Sorting the episodes by series,
bonus
and
episodes,
topic and all that. Yeah, you get all your
special
bonus
topics.
episodes. All sorts of stuff is available there. So,
have you ever seen a door?
No. So with that,
they don't have doors. They have those hatches.
We will enjoy talking to you around this time again.
Talking at you
next week. Bye-bye.
Next week they're going to be
check.
You can cut that last part out of there.
No.
I've missed you, Imzadi.
Imzad, I should have taught you another word.